And that's funded through Act 302. So just keep in mind it's offset by grant revenue. We also have some dispatch training, which is also funded by the Act 302 grant. With the police department, there is a number of police grants that offset some of these costs. So when you see some expenses that has a grant code, those are usually offset by a grant revenue. So just keep that in mind. So building repairs and maintenance, budget at $25,000. Really just kind of the large one there is really some vehicle repairs is in there for $13,000, and then $6,000 for Synergy vehicle for any type of repairs there. What else we have? We have some miscellaneous costs in there for some, looks like some postage and shipping items. We have the cost that we pay for the crossing guard at the school system. It's one of those items that are by law, the city is responsible for the cost of the crossing guards at the schools. So we always budget for that every year. The budget for that $60,000. Then we have a couple lease payments related to the, I believe there's some administrative vehicles included in that lease payments.
Yep.
And also the body cam lease payments. If you recall, was it last year with the purchase of the body cams? That's an annual lease. So we have that budget in here for the Axon lease payments. The budget's $163,000. We also have some JAG technology grant expenses that are in there. And I know those who see Safer Bike corrected that, just an error on the mapping. So that's really related to HSI grant, but on this report I didn't fix it yet. So just small miscellaneous grant expenses that are offset by grant revenue. And then you have capital outlay. Department originally requested $364,000 worth of capital outlay. The municipal budget is zeroing them out with a few of those items being transferred to the forfeiture funds, budgeted in the forfeiture funds for justice and treasury and or state. So you'll see those on there on those items as well too. I didn't print the forfeiture items out, but we can go over them if you would like. But it's like I said, the fund balances are not as high as they used to be. They're really kind of just offset with some of the revenue coming in with the vehicles and equipment going out. So
I got a quick question on the body cam, like the lease payments.
okay.
Okay, that was cut by, it was requested or projected 192, and then it was cut by 29,000 or whatever. That's pretty much a set fee, isn't it?
It is. The first year was a little bit higher than the other ones.
Okay, so that's why we were able to
It's a
decrease
5-year
that?
program. Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
because if it was a set amount, I just couldn't understand how we could, okay.
Probably some one-time implementation costs too in the first year.
Yeah,
Probably.
there's some things that are coming up with Axon, who does our body cameras, in-car cameras, tasers. You also notice if you look down at the capital improvements, you're going to find a drone program in there. That would allow us to purchase 2 drones, and then there would be software that's associated with Axon, the one who handles our stuff already, that allows that to automatically be integrated into our system. So we actually got to use the city's drone yesterday. We unfortunately had the city golf courses broken into a couple of times. We're missing a couple of 3 golf carts. And we've recovered one, but we have information that one may be dropped off in the woods somewhere. Well, we've heard a bunch of different locations. We took out the city drones yesterday. One of our lieutenants, Jeff Adamission, happens to be a hobbyist. He certified as a hobbyist, and he went out and ran that drone everywhere. Incredible use of manpower. Instead of having officers walking these fields, we put a drone up 200-300 feet and taped everything. These drones that we're looking at are probably 10 times as good as what the city currently has, and that's part of that drone program. We can use them for many, many things. This would just be a small thing, checking fields for people that are missing. Someone breaks into a house and runs, or a criminal runs from us, we can track them from up above. So that's the idea behind that drone program.
Was you able to find the other 2?
Not.
Mr. Chairman, two things. They picked up a lot of tracks because I was out there when they were flying it. So, but the drone program, I mean, again, I said I would sound like a broken record. We took it out in the Capitol. It's our intention that when the purchase is ready, we will bring it back with a budget amendment. We're not indicating we're not going to do it. We're just indicating we're pulling it out of the budget.
Right.
So I did learn a little bit more about the drone program and some of the benefits that it has. I mean, even with, bodies and searching for, just a variety of different things. And it does allow you to cover a lot of ground in a short period of time.
And they're
less
telling us
people.
3 to 5 years, we'll be able to dispatch this from our roof of the police station. The battery life is going to be increased, and technically we can avoid some of these car chases and things like that. It'd be great to be able to dispatch from our roof.
I mean, you literally can program points, and it goes out and it flies the parameters, and it comes back and lands back on the landing zone, and it's incredible.
The deputy chief was just reminding us about the thermal imaging. You're out there at night, someone runs into the woods, what a nightmare it is for a police officer. We tend to put a perimeter up to make sure they don't escape, and then the officer's got to go in and look. Well, when you're 300 feet up in the air with a thermal imaging camera,
I was gonna ask, does it have
imagine the
thermal,
safety.
yeah?
Yes. So, I mean, that's just a small thing. People are missing. We have elderly people missing. There's many uses for these. I know we helped out the city yesterday. You were looking where water problem with some of our trails, and the view above shows you where the water problem is. Where is the water coming from? Where can we pump the water to? And there's many uses. It just isn't set up for the police department. We could use this for just about everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Chairman, from a planning and building standpoint, I mean, like some of our engineer partners, they have drones that do topographical surveys from the air. So, I mean, it's truly just unlimited. I mean, the amount of opportunity that it can advance the city of Taylor, but primarily related to what they're looking for, it can provide a lot of additional, or it can cut a lot of additional time off of what they're doing.
I agree.
Okay, all right, that's all we had on the detail for the police. Any additional questions for the chiefs?
You guys got any questions? No? I think we're good. Just real quick, everybody healthy over there? Everybody okay?
Zero. Right
Good.
now, our
Good.
goal's been 0 and we're 0.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been lucky.
Mr. Chairman, Chief, along those lines, I did have a conference call today with the DCC and the DMA. They are working with Tad Sturdivant from Wayne County to try to get us a platform to do rapid test kits for first responders, so hopefully we'll know something, mid next week, early next week.
Yeah, it'd be excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is the clerks. And we have the clerk here, has been waiting patiently.
I have the page of clerk.
Yep, give me a sec.
26, 27.
Yep, 26. So I have the, kind of the expenditure detail on the screen, and, should have,
Yeah, I got that one. I just did this one.
Okay, so just to summarize the clerk's office budget, fiscal year 20 has a reduction of about 30,000, which is mainly related to election worker, payroll, and commission fees type items, and some miscellaneous smaller decreases in the IT stuff, which the clerk can go over. For fiscal year 21, we have an increase of $3,900, which is just less shy of 1%. And then you will go through the budget as we go through there. So we'll start off with the personnel services for the clerk's office, which is on the screen right now. We have, I believe we have, let's see here, 4 full-time FTEs and a couple temps part-times, or 1 part-time, 1 requested, 1 not granted underneath the mayor's version. So with that, anything to say about the personal services?
Yes. In March, we did approximately 5,100 absentee ballots. We had the help of 2 temps, and without the, I had some workers in my office that were on like a OJI type workers comp. Without their help, our overtime budget probably would have been through the roof. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to accomplish an August and a November election with only 1 temp. It's going to be really hard. Like probably
Normally
nearly
have,
impossible.
how many do you normally have?
2
Okay.
during this big of an election.
Right.
Like, there's been years before where, in years past, I would have 3 temps, and then my first year as clerk, I had 3 people. myself, a deputy, and an elections tech. And we had 3 temps, my first election. The next election, I had myself, my deputy, and an administrative assistant, and I think we still had 2 temps at that time. So that's typical during a big election like this. Unless Sheila can get me a couple more OJI people. They were very helpful. I lucked out because, like I said, I had 2 temps and I had the OJI workers, and we were still here. I was right along with my staff on Saturdays. We worked a lot of overtime. We stayed a lot of late nights. It's a lot of work, guys. A lot of work.
What are you asking, what do you need that you think you're confronted with? What are you going to need for the elections?
At least my current staff that I have, along with 2 temps, and when I met with the mayor and Jason, I did stress that I could need more help, I'm not sure, to get the work accomplished.
How long would those temps end up being in your system?
They're here for 6 weeks at a time,
Okay.
about 35 hours a week, so basically full-time.
What did you project the cost on?
The projected cost is about $10,000 each temp for both elections, so about 20 grand total
For one person?
for 2.
Okay.
For 2. The one is about, they work roughly about 960 hours for the 2 elections. So about $9,600, or actually no, I bumped them up to 11. I had them at $10 an hour, but it was hard to find somebody to come for 10. So I bumped it up to 11, which is still not easy, but I do, my 2 temps that work for me in March, they've both indicated that they would come back, and they were awesome.
And they're only here for the election period?
6 weeks.
Okay, so under this, you will have your normal staff with 1 temp, and you would like another temp for both elections?
That would be ideal.
Okay.
Or, I mean, we will be working a lot more overtime, and I didn't project that in my overtime.
What would you think, the overtime would outweigh the price of the temp?
I can run some numbers for you and
Okay.
get you that answer.
Yeah, if you would, please.
We'll do that.
Would it be, just on that, based on that discussion, would it be fair to say, because you do have a bump in your overtime for next year, do you think that the overtime would go down if there was a temp?
With the no reason absentee, Jason, that is why we saw a bump in the overtime. Plus,
And those machines are helping, but they're not helping enough.
the machines help election day because they're high speed to process the ballots. The work that go into issuing the ballots is where we were very, I don't want to say overwhelmed but it was a primary election, but we saw general election numbers in issuing ballots. So the general election is going to be twice or triple that amount. And I'm going to live here if this is the staff I have.
What would happen, Cindy, if we had this is what they're talking about, a mail-in only election? Would the money you would save on election workers, would you be able to use that as your temp, to bring more people in, if that happened?
I could intra-fund transfer
Okay.
the money.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a possibility. If it does, hopefully by August, we're out of the woods, but you
These
never
are the
know.
thoughts that, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, these are the thoughts that have been in the back of my mind. What are we going to do for August? Is this going to be done with? If not, what is the state going to allow us to do? If they still make us have precincts open, what safety am I going to provide my workers? Where am I going to get workers that are going to want to work? That type of thing. We had a teleconference today. They're talking about putting like spit shields up that I would have to invest in for the workers I have to make them as safe as possible. So all these little thoughts are going out there, but if this is still as rampant as it is right now, I would hope they do an all-mail election for August. That's going to add a lot more work to my office, but it's going to save money for election workers. We won't have to. I think the way they're doing May is they have to have 1 precinct available to vote at. So maybe City Hall would be the place, or the Sportsplex if they come, and I'd still have to staff that, but it would free up a lot of that money that's being spent on workers.
Jason, what's the actual to date? When is that through? The $2,300 in overtime?
That's through the end of January 31st.
Through,
January 31st.
So that doesn't include the March overtime. So I was monitoring the overtime as we were, you can ask Sarah, I was strict of why are we working overtime? Why are we, what's going on? Explain to me why, why is this more work than elections we've seen in the past?